I give a fuck? Why do I give a fuck? Why do I try so hard? Why do I care so much?
Welcome to Why Do I Give a Fuck? A cross-cultural conversation between myself, Diane Tate,
and Johanna Thompson. In these times of great struggle and possible shift, we ask ourselves,
why do we give a fuck about any of it? How does the lens we see the world through impact what we see?
And what do we do about it?
We made it through this God-forsaken holiday.
I'm telling you, man. Barely. Skin of the teeth, for sure.
Good to see you, my friends.
Good to see you. I'm a little distracted today. I want to start the show by giving a shout out to my beautiful baby sister, Cece, who spent last night in the ER in her hometown and has been medically evacuated to a bigger hospital in about 2 hours away from where she lives with pretty heavy stuff happening. So I'm here, but I'm distracted and, just holding space for her and her husband. They're already struggling with some pretty big stuff with his mom, life changing diagnoses. And so it sucks. And, we're coming up on the year anniversary. This is the first Thanksgiving without my mom. Mm-hmm. And I was just looking at some pictures, trying to remember, because last year was such a blur. I was like, where was I even at on Thanksgiving? I can't even remember. So I looked at my pictures, thank goodness for, dated dates. And my mom was in the hospital 1 year ago today. Mm-hmm. And I FaceTimed with my sister who was laying in a hospital bed last night. And she looked just like my mother. So that was really hard. So that's where I'm at today. So forgive me if my brain loses a little track at different times because I'm a little preoccupied. So how are you today?
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm so sorry. So blessings and ease to you, one. And hopefully your sister gets to a place where her body, her energy, and her spirit can get her out of that hospital bed as we go into this holiday season and all of the heaviness that some of the things that the holidays can bring. Especially, I was thinking about where was I last Thanksgiving? I couldn't even remember, which speaks into so much happened in 2025. This year has literally been one of the most difficult years of my entire lifetime. And so to take pause for that. And for anyone out there who's listening to us that is going into the holiday with some sort of heaviness or having had a really difficult year, we feel you. We feel you. We give a fuck about you.
Yes.
And we feel you because it's just been a whirlwind of things. I got back from the island on Wednesday. And things happening over in the island is just, it's chaos. It's chaos that with the intention and the energy of the rebuild, but that is taking a lot. Just like even me, and I don't even like to speak so much about my personal situation because I really feel that I'm in a lot more privilege than other people that are on the island that have no resources or no recourse, no future sight about how they're going to be able to rebuild their lives because the loss was so intense and great. But just going through, everybody needs a roof. So a roof getting fixed in my house, it's going to take time. It's going to take patience, and working with people. So I left the island on Wednesday and then came home to grown folks who know how to cook that still had me to cook. So, and it's not a celebration of this holiday because I was, it's not celebrated obviously in Jamaica, but I was telling people that it is a time when families do get together, even if they're not celebrating the history of Thanksgiving, which we already spoke about being so horrible. The thing that I appreciated on my algorithm was seeing so many Indigenous people speaking up and speaking out and the true history of the Thanksgiving holiday and into the massacre of communities, of peoples, of tribes, all up and down North America. And that felt so reassuring that we have the technology and the opportunity to like hear the stories being told. And I hope that the algorithm is aggregating that data so that the truth and real storytelling is not lost to us. So important.
I too, my algorithm was full of Indigenous platform profiles yesterday, and one of them just took my breath away. It was I might see if I can find it. I shared it on my stories, but it was an Indigenous woman singing in an traditional Indigenous language. I don't think they did name the language, but I don't remember what it was. I'll have to try to find it, but it just took my breath away. It was so beautiful. And so, yeah, that was a healing piece for me yesterday, was that every time I went on the socials, I kept seeing, unfortunately, I was also still seeing a lot about Gaza, because the people of Gaza are going through such horrendous rains right now. But some good news about yesterday was that that the young man, the 16-year-old Palestinian American Mohammed Ibrahim, who had been taken by the IDF about 7 months ago, 16 years old, this young boy is, and he's been in an Israeli prison, tortured, beaten, starved. And he was released yesterday back to his family.
Yes.
He lived in the West Bank. He was abducted in the West Bank, and he was released yesterday. And so that was kind of a piece of good news that started my day. And there was a lot going on. Yes.
The start of the holiday season in the U.S. and really around the world. Everyone celebrates the end of the year in some way. And celebrating faith in some way.
This year could not be done fast enough for me. Although I'm getting married on New Year's Eve, so I'm excited about that.
Well, that's like the kickoff.
That's going to be the kickoff for the 2026 to be, because dear God, it cannot stop fast enough.
But it is official. It's official that we're here because it's this Black Friday thing that capitalism does in the U.S. And it's one of the things we decided that we were going to talk about, some of the things that we don't give a fuck about. Because we always are focusing on the things that we do. But one, to make light of, going into holiday season with all of the heaviness that can come up around the holiday season, it's probably important for us to think about the things that we don't give a fuck about. One of those, we said, both of us, you said Black Friday, and I said, I give a fuck about it because there is a specific movement that's happening in the Black community that always happens, but it's been elevated this year because of all of the happenings throughout 2025 that has been a violation to non-white communities.
Yeah. And I was saying I didn't give a fuck about it because I don't give a fuck about it. I'm like, I don't honor it. I don't acknowledge it. And I'm not spending any money. And then, to your point, the ask to go even a step further is to not spend any money through December 5th, which takes us past Cyber Monday and all of that. Now, it does include Giving Tuesday, which is typically a day that all of the nonprofits out there ask for money. And I'm not saying that there aren't nonprofits out there that are doing good work. However, I have been learning on a steep learning curve in these past couple of years, especially about the nonprofit industrial complex and the amount of people that create nonprofits in the name of doing good when good is not anywhere near what they do. Tax write-offs, it's shelters, it's capitalism at its finest. And so the ask, as I understand it, is no spending between yesterday and December 5th. Yes. And that's really hard for people because they see those sales, man. But all of that is capitalism. That I think we said it in the last episode that we're not celebrating Thanksgiving, but this whole next week is really a celebration of capitalism, which just makes my stomach turn. So that's why I don't give a fuck about Black Friday.
And the history of Black Friday, really, and for people to understand where, and if you're not in this country, to understand what we're talking about.
Right.
What happens on Black Friday, the day after this holiday, Thanksgiving, all of the retailers will say that they're reducing their prices and make some magnificent sales so that they can sell as much product for people to gift away during the holiday season.
Right.
And I'm looking at the history of it. There's a thing that happened in 1863 where there was a change of the dollar and gold and all that kind of stuff in the U.S. that caused people to like have a shakiness. And then there's also some storytelling from the internet about the 50s and the 60s where retailers needed to have a way to make sure that they were going to be able to have profits closing out the year, and going from and turning their being in the red to being in the black. And so with their finances. And so that is kind of the naming of Black Friday, but it really has to do with capitalism. And we know that capitalism at this point is the foundation
root.
Of most evil. And most social hierarchies, I laugh about it, but it's the truth. And capitalism in the United States is imploding on itself. You know, my Jamaican algorithm is, there was a gentleman that was on there who was saying that he was going to start his own revolution. And it was a storytelling about taking a young student, a third-year student from the University of the West Indies, to get a visa because the person wanted to vacation and visit their godmother in the U.S. And the person is in Kingston, so it's not a person who's running away from all of the trauma that's happening in the west part of the island. And it cost about 30,000 Jamaican dollars, which is $183 US, for someone to just even go to have a conversation with someone to try to get a visa. And that money is lost. And so the professor was bringing the student back, and the student was heartbroken. The student had just spent all of this money that is not going to be recouped. And the person was just like, we have these people from the US that come here, they're walking on our beaches, they're drinking. And as he's telling this, he's getting more and more vexed and inflamed and energized and frustrated. And he's like, and folks don't even have to like apply for a visa to come over here to rape our resources. And then I was looking at the responses in the chat, and folks were just like, well, US is a superpower, they don't need us, and And the person was like responding back like, well, if they don't need us, then why does Trump have all of these warships shooting down people? Folks are scared to go into free waters in the Caribbean in this moment because there is a need for, or not a need, but there's always a desire, a hunger, bulliness out of capitalism and out of like the US trying to maintain itself as a superpower to continue to take and aggress onto different lands in this way that they've done it in Palestine. Thank you for always bringing that up and continuing to elevate the stories that are coming out of Gaza. And just to see how the U.S. continues to bully its way because it is in such a down and imploding of capitalism within our country. So
it's funny because Brian asked me last night. He was like, "Why do they even call it Black Friday?" And I didn't have the answer for him. I just said, "I'm sure it's racism." I don't know what
in the U.S.
I'm sure it's
always
racism.
looking back to that.
Always.
And capitalism has that. And the interesting thing is that a lot of our dollars do come from a lot of the spending that happens, comes from non-white communities as well. Like, really, like spending money that you don't have because you don't have the same wealth to be pouring into the economy in the way that retailers are asking us to do.
Yeah, my daughter, shout out to my daughter who does angel tree. She picks kids off of an angel tree every year for Christmas. I love this about her. I love her so much, but I love this about her. Her love language is gift giving. That's how she describes herself. She loves to give gifts. So every year she finds an angel tree and picks a couple of kiddos off of it and fulfills all their wishes. And she was telling me the other day that Walmart is usually the place where you find these angel trees. And I'm sure there are other places as well. My church, when I lived in Charleston, used to do it. But in her area, that seems to be the place where she finds them, is usually in the Walmart. Then she's, and my first thought was, well, of course they do it in Walmart. And then they want you to go into their store and buy all of the things for the, so they're all, it's not because they're benevolent by any stretch of the imagination. Then she tells me that her Walmart in her area is not even doing the angel trees, they're not even participating. She had to go to a different area, a part of the city that she lives in, to go find the angel trees. She's, I don't know why they're not participating, but they're not. And then she was like, so I think I'm going to go shopping here. And I think I'm going to go shopping here for the things. I said, well, first of all, don't shop during this week. You need to wait until after this week is over. And then second of all, I said, don't shop at Walmart, because if they're not going to,
to be supporting the angel trees in your area, what is going on?
Then screw them. They're not getting your dollars. I said, go find some small. She's like, well, Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore. And, I mean, these kids are all little, and most of what they want is toys. And I said, well, do some research, do some searches, find some mom and pop toy stores. You may not get as much bang for your buck, so to speak, in terms of quantity, but you'll get quality and you'll support smaller businesses. So it's just trying to help her kind of think through it a little bit and do her, her 28-year-old brain. But yeah, that's one of the, it's all about, I mean, I'm glad that on the end of an angel tree ask that there's a kiddo that gets something that maybe they wouldn't have gotten at Christmas. I'm glad for the end of that procedure, but the rest of the process just feels really, because it doesn't feel, it feels so rooted in capitalism and so rooted in, it's not about generosity. It's not about helping children. I got that wrong. She didn't go to another Walmart. She went to Salvation Army. They're another organization, which is another one of those 501c3s.
Those foundations.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that, a broken clock can be right twice a day. I know that these organizations will often do some good things, and there are kids that get, surprises and excitement at the end of that rainbow. But, the slog you have to go through from point A to point B is the thing that makes it, turns my stomach on it a little bit. But anyway.
My mind stopped at the broken clock that can be right twice a day. That's a great, like what I'm assuming a Southern Topsy is.
It's not mine. It's not original. It's been, and that segues actually into the next thing on my list that I don't give a fuck about is I put on my list was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Talk about a broken clock being right twice a day. I don't even know if you've heard about her latest declarations.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she's one of those voices. For those of you listening, shout out to our listeners in Nepal. I just want to say we've got 32 now. I counted them the other day. 32 countries represented in our listenership. And
we're gonna get there one day.
I know we're gonna get all of them. We need more on the continent. So if anybody knows anybody on the continent of Africa that wants to tell them about our podcast, please let them know, because we need some on the continent. But so yes, so shout out to Nepal. But I was, what was I saying? Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So for those of you who are not in the U.S., Marjorie Taylor Greene is right now currently a sitting representative in the House of Representatives in our Congress. She represents Georgia, a district in Georgia. She is a white woman, very, in the time that she's been in public office, very white nationalist and not afraid or ashamed to wear it with pride on every sleeve she has. She's very, very strong in the MAGA movement, which is the Make America Great Again, that Trump that is his platform that he came in, just like Sarah Palin was the Tea Party, he is the MAGA movement. And she's been a staunch supporter of the MAGA movement. She's just a nasty human being. I'm sorry. There's just not a lot of redeeming qualities about this human that I have ever seen. So of late, and I don't know, I started seeing her change around Charlie Kirk's assassination, who is another MAGA supporter, Christian nationalist that was killed. I'm not even going to say assassinated because that's just too hoity for him. He was shot and killed, I don't know, some months ago. And I don't know, there seemed to be a shift. I started seeing her making speeches and talking about things that I actually agreed with her on, which was like, hell is freezing over, and So of late, so her most recent, so she's had seemingly this change of heart. She's been a big supporter of releasing the Epstein files, which are, Epstein was a child trafficker and child predator who was convicted of such, died in prison. They said died by suicide. I think he was murked. and the files that name people of all of this sex trafficking of girls and young women, the names of the people that took part in this trafficking with him have been, greatly suppressed and hidden. So there's been a lot of call for the Epstein files to be released. So anyway, she has been on that bandwagon bigly. And then this past week, she, here I am saying I don't give a fuck about her, but I'm just giving context. Yes. So this past week, she has now announced that she is resigning from her position in Congress at the end of the year. And that she just couldn't stomach being, yada, yada, yada. But what is the truth of the situation is that she's resigning just days after she successfully serves long enough to receive lifetime health care through the government, lifetime pension through the government. You have to serve in our Congress for a certain period of time to be able to acquire these things. And miraculously, she will have hit that deadline just a few days before her resignation. So she went into office as, maybe a couple of $100,000 in her pocket. She's now over 2 million mark of money, because a lot of our congressional folks make a lot of money on trading in the stock market, of which they know how their legislation is going to impact the stock market, and they make a lot of money off of it. Insider trading, they call it. So I said all that to say, the reason I don't care about her is because people are like, in some ways, excited that she's like, all of a sudden, maybe she's had a change of heart. Maybe she's become a real human. Maybe she's started to care about other humans. And,
so I'm hearing, though, that she's not as staunch a supporter of the MAGA movement. Is that
she has gone so far as to say that Trump is a grifter, that he is, and he has summarily, said that he is dead to her, which to most elected officials mean you're not going to get reelected.
I see.
Because he's going to primary, he's going to pump somebody up that's going to come in and take your seat from you because he doesn't like you anymore. She made him mad on the playground.
Have they been talking about who would be replacing?
No, they haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'm sure it'll be a lackey. It'll be a Trump lackey. So that's why I don't give a fuck about her, is because too little, too late. I don't believe it. I don't trust it. She just, you don't get to be that nasty and that despicable and then turn around after the deadline has passed for you to have your life set up for the rest of your life and go,
of taxpayer dollars, after you have also harmed a number of U.S. citizens.
Yes,
the way that you initiated your position of power as a representative, representing only a small fraction of what is necessary and needed for us to have a actual America that is in consideration of a lot of people. I'm thinking of a really good friend of mine who I got to see, and he had a red MAGA looking shirt on. So of course I'm like, what? I fell in love with this sweatshirt because it does, and the person is huge. Like he's a big.
So it's like a billboard, not just a sweatshirt.
This big bright red sweatshirt on this 6'10" human being, and it says, "Make America," and then it says, "Not racist again." And I was like, when I saw that, because I had to do a whole double take, and I'm like, "What are you wearing?" And then just to see like the focus that it brings in, and like the messagings that it brings in.
Yeah.
So I love that, and it just speaks to the harm of the MAGA movement to the U.S. in its entirety, not just to anything, but like this white nationalism and making a white nation in the way that they plan to do.
The only pushback I would have for that, because I've seen that on hats where people were wearing the red hats and it says "Make America," is the not racist again. Like when has America ever not been racist, right? In the U.S.
Before it was colonized.
Right. But then it wasn't the U.S. So,
right. So let's get back to that. where we're not just considered America, which is North
Right.
and South America, and the
Right.
U.S.
Right.
being the superpower that
Right.
it has existed as, because it's
Yeah.
not anymore. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, when the bully gets pushed against the wall and is feeling cornered and seeing that it's losing its power, how it comes out fighting, and that's
Yeah.
the way that I'm experiencing the U.S. at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's
what
why
else?
she's on my list. What
Mhm.
else? What else do you not give AF about?
Any of it. I really don't give enough about any of it, because I have been watching and experiencing real time people trying to survive, trying to survive their lives.
Literally, yeah.
Your sister in the hospital is one thing. I have family members that are in shelters because, of not having finances and income. My own situation with, transitions that I've been experiencing, having experienced within my organization, somebody who was always there, just kind of like pulling out and leaving it for it to be figured out. So anything that is on the news, and this, for those who are listening, I'm always like, I don't know what's going on with all of the things on the outside, because I don't give a fuck about it, because real life is happening and people trying to be in there. And that's a bit of a cop out, but it's not a cop out, because it's the reality of where my focus is. I can't even tap into considering or thinking about the other things going on in the world, because the transitions and stress on my personal life is taking my attention. It really is. So.
Yeah. And you have a puppy in the household.
Well, I have two puppies. I have they're not puppies any longer.
Not puppies
I call
anymore.
them puppies, but they've been here. We rescued some puppies from the shelter right before my young person went to college, which was a silly thing to do, because she wanted the puppies, and then she went off to college, and so then the rest of
to let mama to take care of them. Yeah.
She's the mama, and when she comes home, she does all of the loving on them. But right now, they're probably just trying to survive. But they're out. You can hear them in the back. But my other child doesn't have the same care space for them. And when I'm here, then I'm dealing with puppies the one who wanted to deal with the puppies is away.
Yeah.
They're big, little, cute little black dogs. They're lovely.
Hear you.
We call them Diamond and Dior. Those are our
Brian
babies.
is actually doing that puppy duty right now, because his son went down to North Carolina for the holiday to be with his mom, and to be with Brian's mom, his grandmother. And so Brian's been on puppy duty and taking care of Shadow. She doesn't come here. She stays at her house, and we only live 3 minutes away. Well, he's got to go over there and do the thing, and So, but he was willing to do that
too. For those of us who are pet lovers, we have them. And we wouldn't get rid of them. We love our puppies.
Yeah, no, he loves her. He loves her. He loves her from afar now. Instead of loving her being right up underneath him. So he's getting some good puppy love this weekend, but he'll be happy when the sun returns and he doesn't have to go over there at 6 a.m. and take care of her. So that's for sure.
Tell me something else on your list.
One more thing, because I know we're kind of at the end of time, but let's see. I had a few things. We've already talked about the holidays that I don't give AF about those. I don't give AF, and this is a little bit old news. Kamala Harris, who ran for president when Biden pulled out, she was the vice president during Biden's term, just one term, and she is on a book tour right now, and I don't give a fuck about that. And
you know anything about her book? What is she talking about?
I haven't read it, full disclosure, and I'm not going to, but I have heard others that have read it and are talking about it, is that it's mostly, I think it's called 107 days, which is the amount of time she had for her campaign, because Biden pulled out of the race, came off the ticket, and then she had a little over 100 days to run her campaign. And from what I understand, it's a book about how it was everything else's fault but her own about why she
Mm.
lost the election. Not a lot of accountability taken for her stance on Israel and on supporting genocide, and not a lot of accountability taken for her lack of difference in her policies. She really just rode Biden's coattails and didn't say a lot, in my opinion. I know, didn't say a lot about how her policies would be different, and even when people were screaming at her that they wanted something different, and so I don't give a fuck about that, but I do give a fuck about the people that are showing up to her book tour
Yeah. We're showing up for a
sites
tour.
and protesting
Okay.
and making a lot of noise and accusing her of being a genocide supporter. And she wants everybody just to be quiet so that she can tell her side of the story. But no, when you're a genocide supporter, you don't get to be, you don't get a moment's peace. I don't think so.
Yeah, I you know me and my restorative practice energy self would be curious to know what it is, her position, and like what her experience during that period in time was, just because I always love to hear how people come into a space and come into their understanding. And then I also, my initial thought about wanting to hear what she has to say is so many opportunities when Black women don't get heard.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious about like what it is that she's using her platform to speak and say. But I didn't know anything I didn't know she had a book coming out. I didn't know she was on a book tour. I didn't know anything about what it is that she's doing, because I'm not invested in anything that has to do with continuing to support this whole white nation. And if you're playing in it in the way that our representatives are playing in it, you're playing in it. And I have no energy and no desire for that. As we talking about like the holidays, there was this one post that I saw and it was a miniature flower pot with like one little stalk of a it wasn't a pine cone, but it was like the little branch on a Christmas tree, and it was stuck in this little miniature pot. And the person was in Spanish singing Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. And the little thing was against the wall. And the caption said, "This is about the energy that I have for this holiday season." I reposted that because it just felt like it was speaking to everything. One, the miniature flower pot, the holiday not being actually about what the holiday was originated for. People lost in capitalism, so much harm and violence going on. And this being really one of the hardest years for so many communities across the globe, that like the energy for this holiday is really, I'm hoping, about personal spirit and human connection. And people feeling like your daughter, how to take care of other people in the best of their ability, and having a love language of gifting, but not gifting in capitalism, gifting with care and consideration.
Yeah. Speaking of that, when we get off this recording this episode, I'm headed to a mutual aid event in my local city, and in the face of, don't participate in Black Friday, come to our mutual aid event. So I'm excited to do that, even though
What is it about? Tell us about it. What's the mutual aid?
Well, I live in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and it is a mutual aid. They're asking folks to come and bring canned goods, and there's something called Fridgeport here in Bridgeport that is a mutual aid community. I don't know, refrigerator or kitchen space. And so they're asking people to come with goods to replenish that. But I wanted to get out of myself a little bit. And now with my sister, I'm feeling like wanting to like just be in a space where I could take a phone call anytime, but I think I am going to go, even if I just stay for half an hour to an hour and get out of myself. And because, sitting at home, staring at the phone is not going to make it ring any faster. So,
and that is the holiday spirit, the mutual aid, the care. Don't forget Jamaica. People are in that energy. Light her way.
Light her way. Yes.
To offer some mutual aid and get some solar powered backpacks over to the island, specifically for women and girls there, a vulnerable population. But that is the type of way that I want to close out 2025, doing things in care and consideration, not doing things in capitalism, and just returning to our humanity.
Yes. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. All right, my friend.
Blessings.
Blessings to you. And we'll
Okay.
see you on the next episode.
Yes. Yes.
Why do I give a fuck? Why
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, as you move throughout your day, continue to ask yourself,
Why do I give a
Why Do I Give a Fuck is produced in collaboration with Johanna and Diane. Music by Norwegian musician Water. See you next time.